Hello, and thank you once again for tuning into Stark Realities. Here to do another review. I'm back in the old spot. I know I did post a video here just recently about the Arms and Armor Danish Type M battle axe. So, and then I had the other one in that other location that was just kind of a test to see what that would look like. Wasn't particularly happy with that. So I'm right back here in the den to do a review. Really excited about doing this review today. This is going to be concerning a sword that I distinctly remember when I was young seeing in a library book or some other publication about swords or knights, something along those lines. And there was something about this sword that when I saw it, it literally was burned into my mind in a sense of permanency. The shape of the blade, the proportions, everything about it. If you saw that, that's my friend. He's a fly that managed to get in here that I have not been able to catch. So if you see that individual, don't worry about him. I'll get him eventually. Maybe I'll go after him with what I'm about to show in the review. Probably not. But this sword, for whatever reason, it just had something about it that stuck with me. And time went by. Many decades went by. Never saw anything that was produced that was like this. That had this almost visceral, I'd go so far as to say almost spiritual impression on me that lasted so long. And there was a couple other things, other swords over time that did that, but this one in particular did that. And the sword that came into being, that is a representation of that, and an excellent one, I might add, is something that Albion just recently produced not too long ago, and I remember it being announced, and no hesitation. I was like, I will have that. And that sword in question is from Albion's museum line, and it is the Wallace sword. And here it is. This sword, there's intangibles about it that I really almost don't have words for. It is something else. It really is something else in my mind. Things about it that they don't really make sense in some ways, right? I don't know if other people have seen swords like that. It's got the telltale little hanger string on there that I use to display. Hold on here. But when I saw that Albion was producing this, that Peter had done a documentation of it, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. This sword has the look that I always thought of when I thought of a knightly sword. Things that, I'd seen drawn in artwork. I believe there was a book I read that was an illustrated version of, and I'm going to butcher it because I'm not good at French, La Morte d'Arthur. And I saw swords with the shape, and it wasn't because maybe the artist had gone to the Wallace collection and said, oh, I'm going to use that design. But this was the end result for me. So, about the Wallace museum collection piece that Peter had documented, the A458, if you want to look it up. There's plenty of information on Albion's site, too, that you can refer to. The measurements that I'm going to give you are from Albion's site. I have not taken the time to do personal measurements of this sword myself. I pretty much trust that it is within spec from Albion itself. So like I said, the Wallace Collection A458, described under the Oakshot typology as a Type 11A. The guard is a modified Type 11, and the pommel is a modified Type G. And the pommel is unique. You look at a sword, and I think a lot of us are spoiled with this idea that the pommel is just this counterbalance. And I think we're learning, as the more we learn about documented actual originals, is the pommels were not necessarily these counterbalances to the blade. They served other purposes. The shapes were modified to accommodate certain things. And to that end, this pommel, for a medieval sword, look at this. That is remarkable. And there are pommels of similar thinness in later style swords. But it really, I saw that in the pictures that were originally put out by Albion via Mike Sigmund. Shout out to Mike. And I was just like, wow, how, what is that going to feel like in the hand? But truly, truly unique in many ways. So, with all of that in mind, Type 11A, Oakshot claims a period of popularity approximately, as with all of this, it's approximate, 1120 to 1200. Probably either side of those very specific bookended years that this style of sword would have been likely seen. I would go so far as to say that this one is a later incarnation of a Type 11. It's very refined and very unique in proportion. Albion's write-up on it documents that, and I would imagine it very much has to do with Peter's experience with the original, going, this is just outside the norm. Though my impression with Type 11As is these very wide blades, which I guess I have a fetish of wide blades. I mean, that is a very wide blade for the length. Now, I just did a review of the Vigil, which is loosely based on the Witham sword, and it's another wide-bladed sword, but this is wider. There's this convex shape to this blade as it comes. It's almost looks as if it widens here and then begins to taper, almost like a leaf blade, but it's not. It actually has pretty much a continual taper. But I mean, what an impressive blade. So Albion's measurements, which are approximate, as I mentioned before, blade length is 33.5 inches in length. Overall length for the sword is 39 3/8 inches. Forgive me, 33.5 inches blade length, 85 centimeters. 39 3/8 inches overall length, 100 centimeters. Point of balance, wait for it. If you haven't already looked and didn't already know, it's 7 3/4. Now, a lot of us have, over the years, we like that feel of a sword that has a closer point of balance than 7 3/4. I mean, that's down here, right? Center percussion. 19.6 centimeters on the point of balance. Center of percussion, 21 inches, 53.3 centimeters. Weight, 2 pounds. 2 pounds. That's it. And the dynamic handling qualities of this sword are such that when I'll tell you what it feels like. It feels like some types of military sabers. Weird, right? But it has that feel to it. So it's very unique, but maybe not so unique as we might think. I think our modern sensibilities concerning how a sword should feel or potentially look like is contaminated by a lot of things. And I know when I got into swords a long time ago, makers were out there, at least stateside, producing swords with abysmal handling qualities, an abysmal construction. They were trying to incorporate American Bladesmith Society concepts, knife concepts, into swords. And no one had any direct access to originals to compare to and go, oh, that doesn't really make sense. So they went with what they knew, and that's okay. We've learned a lot since then, and thankfully so. To get something like this thrills me to pieces. It's an amazing thing to hold this sword that I had etched into my mind so long ago, 40 plus years ago, and here it is. So thank you, Albion. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, sword making community, and those who have interest in it, because these things wouldn't happen otherwise. But this sword is, if you are interested in, this is the first museum line I've ever owned, and may be the only one I ever own, because it hit that spot in me that was, wow, how could I not have this? As with all of my reviews, this is pretty much more of an impressions thing, not showing specific handling qualities, what have you. But I have no doubts that this thing would cut amazingly well. It is relatively thin. It's not as thin as the Vigil, but it's close. It does have quite a bit of flex in it towards the tip. I don't know if you can see that. But yes, it is something else. It is really an amazing piece. So once again, thank you for tuning in and checking out my video. I hope it was helpful in some ways and gave you an opportunity to see the Wallace in hand. As far as I know, no one else has done a review or overview in this case. But once again, thank you. And until next time, we'll see you then on Stark Realities.